Hello, everybody, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Today, we have the pleasure that we have Peter Pirner again in the house, to say so, on your screens. And I'm very grateful that Peter could manage in his full timetable and still being in Spain at one of his, let's say, most favorite cities, as I know from reading my mails carefully, that he is big aficionado of several Spanish cities, that he's in Barcelona right now. Welcome,
Yeah,
Peter.
actually, my wife lives there, so that's easy. That was an easy choice.
Nice.
As you saw in the intro, we are very much in artificial intelligence, customer experience, employee experience, and a lot of other scenarios. So is Peter. Peter is a well-known figure in the field of customer experience management, and he is a CX advisor, coach, creator, and host of CX Talks, a successful German podcast for customer experience management. Being not involved in that podcast and not involved in the success of that podcast, I could say it is the most successful one we do have on that topic in German-speaking Europe, not only Germany. With more than 20 years of experience in research-based consulting, Peter has a deep understanding of quantitative and qualitative research concepts for profound customer insights. That makes it so exciting, and I would like to take it in a minute over to Peter to add on some of his background experiences and former business lives. As one thing is combining the normally three of us with him so that it would be four, if Thomas would not be in lovely India again and has some stretched time zones, so he unfortunately is not able to join. He believes that CX
Thomas.
consulting must be based on analytics and facts and must understand technology as an important solution component. Today's talk is going to get some aspects talked about how AI is changing also CX management. Now, Peter, over to you.
Thank you
Introduce
for
a
having
bit
me.
more.
You introduced and told everything about me as a person. I'm very happy to be there with you guys again. I hope that I can contribute something valuable to your fantastic CRM cosmos. And the nice thing is that even though we talk about the same thing, we still come from slightly different angles. You come more from the CRM field. I come from my past more from the anonymous research area. Over the last years, I decided that I make up my mind completely. I try to understand all the different perspectives there are, which enriches your personal view on things a lot, but at the same time, it also kills a few of your firm idea how the world works and how organizations work. But on the other hand, I also learned that the experience I made across most of the countries in the world where I visited them as a CX advisor in my role in Kantar, with many big companies, that the internal processes and the activities and the way people try to move towards new results for the company are quite the same all over the world, and they don't change too much over time. So these are the new topics we can talk about, and how they are implemented. This will still play along the rules we have for many years, I think.
Yeah, the technology
is-
keeps renewing itself, but the topic doesn't get old.
Exactly.
And we had that opportunity, as Peter was so kind to mention, that we are coming from different angles. We are all in the business for a long time, over 20 years.
Yeah.
And from different aspects, from the aspect of journalism, for instance, on the side of Marshall, and as an analyzing consultant in the perspective, working together with Ovum and some other institutions.
Mhm.
And one of his observations was, if one is going into the shiny world and the aspects of a new shiny object, that one of the to be done jobs is automation. And Marshall, it will be great if you pick up that one and give the audience an observation you just shared with us before we started the talk.
The talk. Yes. What was I saying? One of the interesting things I have noted, we can tie it to the news. Salesforce recently announced public beta of its Einstein Copilot, which is very much the sort of thing that we have been talking about. There are other vendors who have released co-pilots of their own, either with that name or another. And I have to wonder, is this the best direction for AI research to be moving in? Is that what businesses need most? Some other kind of automation?
And another aspect is we try for centuries to automate stuff,
Yep.
to make lives easier. And in Salesforce or marketing or service automation, we are following that path again. And now we get the support from some artificial intelligence, some magic out of the box, which we opened. And it's like the box of Pandora. But before we go into some more details, and we steer it in a round of not only looking into the aspects of a shiny object, a new toy for the boys and girls as well, that there was one very vivid moment we had in the end of our last CM Convo we had together with Peter, as we asked him what is needed to do great CX. And his answer was overwhelming simple. You have to love people. Yeah. And this was so cool that we made a nice takeout out of this, which you still can look up in YouTube. But now going to our shiny new object, when one has to love people, how is AI changing CX management? How is AI influencing the human touch of love, emotion, and empathy? Will AI show love for people? Question.
Well, that
Nice, easy one to start with.
it's a nice starter. That's an easy starter. I think just to make the thing more complicated, there is not just one AI. There are various applications of AI, and each of them serve for certain purposes. Some of them make it easier for people to be empathetic because they have more time. Sometimes it makes it easier for people because an customer input is translated into a language that people understand. Otherwise, you could not be empathetic at all. And there will happen many things behind the scenes which at first glance do not have much to do with empathy or good CX, but they still serve a purpose. And they, I think, will speed up a few of the developments we all wanted to have happening faster. And now there are tools that do things faster. For example, if you think about reformatting an Excel sheet.
Yeah.
Gosh. You get a new Excel sheet, now you just do that in ChatGPT. And I think what we see with all the co-pilots right now is that the companies have the feeling that they need to show something tangible to their customers that they are in the AI space. My feeling is, in many developments, we are already in the AI space for a long time, but you did not talk so much about that because there was a special application. For example, voice recognition. That's more or less based on large language models. And this is existing for many, many years. Now what we now see is that these things develop in an incredible speed. Now AI systems train other AI systems, and blah, 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 blah. Everything goes extremely fast. But for companies, it's important to show something that makes their software appear AI-proofed, AI inside. And one of the Forrester predictions for 2024 was that most of the companies try to apply AI in customer-facing situations with their own customers or for customers of their customers, without exactly knowing how helpful that really is, and without exactly knowing upfront what side effects could come with it. And is this wrong or right? Actually, I don't know, because if you don't try, if I wouldn't have tried ChatGPT, I would not know what it can do and what it probably cannot, but I'm still surprised how much it can do. I personally have more the problem to define the problem I have, which ChatGPT could solve. I have the feeling ChatGPT could solve my problem, but I'm not fast enough to have enough problems.
That's a very interesting perspective.
That's nice, no? Because, and I also think automation. If you think about automation, it sounds so easy. It's automated, but what and why? And if you don't know the what and the why, then you cannot
Get
tell
to the how, yeah.
or whatever, now do the work for me. And the what do we want to achieve with it and how it should be like. Actually, it's very easy to find simple use cases. But in reality, the world is not that simple. And then you still need to think a bit more of defining your problem. And the only thing what is different today is that you can speak to a machine or a problem solver in a more natural language, and you can trust into that machine that if, as long as it's a formal problem, the machine probably will do that. For example, I use that now as a lector of texts. I'm awful in finding orthographic errors, because if I write something, it's out of my brain. I'm totally bored. I don't want to read that again. And for that reason, you cannot proofread your own stuff. You always need, if you don't have a brain for these things. I always had people around me who helped me on proofreading typos and these things. And I was better in structures. I could structure text quite easily. I could make a flow. That was something I liked. This is what, and the other things bored me. And then I found out that if you train ChatGPT, you are now a lector, and whatever text I give you, don't change the word. Just check if there is a grammatical issue, if I've overseen a comma or I've overseen a full stop or something like that, or if I made a typo just turning around two letters. That is incredible. And this kind of job in the past did my friends or did professional lectors.
Yeah.
And this is absolutely doable now with a software like that. But still remains the problem that I need to have use cases for that solution. I don't write 100 books every day. But when I write a book or when I write a blog or when I write an article, I just double check that now with the software. And for that reason, I think that there are still many, many, many options, and many people will try a lot of good things, and many people will also try a lot of not so good things. And the only thing that worries me in all these developments is that we still do not have a legal framework that on the one hand regulates a bit what would be the worst outcome. But at the same time, you also could not, I think today we are not in a situation that even if we would have the legal framework, we could not control it. Because everything goes so fast that as soon as you find out how you control the one thing, they already find a new way doing another thing. So probably it's now a bit the time where we simply need to let loose because we don't have another chance anyway. And probably things will not happen as fast as we believe they will happen, but they will happen. And not only nice child, not only nice.
Now, do we want them to happen at the pace that they are going? I mean, one of the issues some people have with artificial intelligence is that it's still becoming a useful technology. It's not 100% there,
No.
but businesses are trying to monetize that technology anyway.
But for me, if I talk to other people, if I see use cases, it's AI. If you think of it just in terms of technology, yes, it's a technology. But actually, if you want to apply the technology, it changes the way how you work. It changes the possibilities you have, what you deliver to your customers. And for that reason, I think we need to think through all these different aspects. And we cannot regulate all these different aspects. Imagine if you I make a podcast. So every idiot in the world could take 20 minutes of my podcast, take my voice, and then make calls to my sister, to my family, to my wife. And it would be already today very difficult to understand if it's really me or is someone just hijacked my voice or now my video. Yeah. What we do right now is an introduction. You invite people making a clone of this person here, and I don't believe that we will be the first targets, but some now Frank Sinatra can sing songs he never sung, and it's really difficult to understand that it's not him.
Yeah.
And the question is now how technologically this is solved. But how do we want to act on that? Do we want to listen to an artificial Frank Sinatra singing a song when there is a fantastic new singer with a voice quite similar to Frank Sinatra, but who still has this timbre which is slightly different to Frank Sinatra and could sing the song which Frank Sinatra will not sing anymore because he's dead?
Yeah.
Or actors. Do I want to see Bruce Willis acting in films he never made? Or am I just bored about all this artificial virtual stuff in a few years? These are things we don't know. And these are again obvious examples.
Yeah.
And there are many applications of AI and AI technology in areas which are not as fancy, which can be very helpful and which will also change the game.
Marshall, can you explain to us, as I use the unknown LinkedIn user which made the comment, we need more AI literacy. I'm not quite sure what literacy is meaning, and jump in on that and give a comment. As you are muted, it's less fun. Sorry.
Oh, but then you could use an artificial intelligence engine to try to read my lips.
Oh.
Yeah, but regarding the comment, literacy is understanding somewhat how AI works and what you can expect to get out of it for what you put into it. One of the issues with any new technology is it's sort of a black box for people. The information goes in, it gets processed in the box, and comes out the other side. Nobody understands what's happening in the box except for the AI developers.
And even then,
Yeah, the ability to know what you possibly can get from AI is just as important as being able to turn it on. Just like, we understand. Uh, sorry. We understand instinctively that you do not use a motorcycle to transport cargo.
Yeah.
For that you need
in developed
either
countries,
a car with a large boot or a truck, a lorry, something of that nature.
Yeah.
We understand that because we've worked with that technology for decades. We don't have decades of experience with AI, at least not in the public. And people need to get more comfortable with it before it can really take off, in my opinion.
but I think ChatGPT did a great job over the last 2 years,
Yes.
because now everybody is really excited about the possibilities and sees the use cases. The problem is, if you think AI is that, you underestimate what AI is.
Yeah.
From my point
We
of
have-
view.
Yeah, I mean, on the
We-
one hand, OpenAI was very smart to release ChatGPT when it did and how it did, because it created a huge groundswell of interest and the ability for regular people to see how the AI worked, to see how large language models would affect what you can get out of a computer system. But
This sounds really Thomas-like, such as if you all have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And you
yeah,
want to get the nail into wherever it should be going to. Yeah.
yeah.
So
I mean, and you can use LLMs for a lot of things, but sentiment analysis is not one of them, for example. You would need a different type of intelligence to work with that. So, on the one hand, the growth in interest of artificial intelligence has been very beneficial to the industry, but it also has created inflated expectations of what is possible, and why isn't everything run by AI now? People wonder that, but they have no grounding in why that wouldn't be possible yet.
Well,
And
now we have
apparently it was Björn. So
Björn. I guess it's the Björn we know all, such as Mr.
There can
Egelman.
be only one Björn.
Yeah,
Björn the
it's
Highlander.
fair enough. Yeah, the CX, Björn, and welcome to our show. And it's fun to have you with us. And in going a bit into the day-by-day utilization, Peter gave the example of doing some lecturate. A friend of mine is utilizing the language tool not only for correction, but also for style analysis, as he is also very happy in utilizing DeepL, not only for translations, but DeepL is also helping you for correction mode and style mode. So if you are not sure if the text you created is easy to read, you can not only use ChatGPT or Gemini or other tools, Aurea, to get some hints, but to get some guidance and advice. Yeah. Data collection is one of the topics you mentioned, Peter.
Yeah.
In the area of how does AI influence the data you can collect for CX management, and it is on a certain limited perspective from your end that a framework of legislation is on its way. It's not ready yet, it's not done, but it is a hint that self-control, like many auditing frameworks which are checking each shelf, which one player is utilizing, and something out of legal structure is arising. And again, like everybody is finger pointing on GDPR and not always politely, there are other countries or legislative institutions which have not managed yet to deliver something in that quality and in that depth. So I would love to play the ball over to you in how does the AI influence the data you can collect for the CX management?
Actually, as I said before, there are various applications of artificial intelligence and not only large language models. For example, sentiment analytics is also based on artificial intelligence, but not necessarily on large language models. And when you said, let's talk about AI and CX management, I thought, well, actually, there are three main areas where there are very different, distinct applications of AI to be found. The one thing is, first of all, if you want to understand situations or customers, you first of all need to have good data. And there are different, this is why I said it all starts with collecting data. And in the past, you had a lot of data you did not collect because you did not have the human capacities to analyze that, especially if they are quite unstructured. And we've learned over time that, for example, process data could give you a lot of indications about customer behavior if you're able to analyze them and to interpret the results you get from the analysis. So the collection of process data became much more attractive since we started to optimize processes using artificial intelligence to make better processes. You did not even think about analyzing the processes, but as the technology is there, you can now even use much easier process data or process analytics to, for example, to describe the customer journey. That's one thing. The other thing is, if you still ask people at large scale, you will find, and I worked in an institute for many, many, many years, you will find fraud. There are people who give you answers who simply are not in a position to give you a good answer. And in the past, what you did is you had, for example, if you had difficult studies, not just what is your opinion on this food. If you had difficult studies with a technical, true or false option, and if you need to check the data, and you said, look, this guy has no idea because this combination is not possible, then you had experts sitting there hours and hours and hours just cleaning data, finding out, did that interview really happen or not? If you ask people, for example, in fleet management about trucks, then we have people sitting there in international studies saying, this guy in India cannot be a guy in India because this is not possible because of blah, blah, blah. You need these experts. Today, you have even online services that you upload your data and they give you indication which of the data sets is probably a fake data set or a false data set. So at least you save a lot of hours, many hours, to have the first run. And then you probably will still have a few doubts where you need to check that in person. But this is an enormous amount of work needed in the past, which now we can get rid of, and we have better data quality. The other way, what also is now possible, and I saw that in some of the applications, if you ask a lot of people, then you typically ask in a very closed way with using scales. Because it's not possible, like in a small number qualitative research situation that you have a dialogue with, let's see, 1,000 respondents. It was not possible.
Mm-hmm.
What we see now in customer feedback, most of the customer platforms, that they start asking the question in the way how you would probe in a qualitative situation. So it's a bot, it takes the answer, it finds out what was the main topic, and then it asks, why do you think so? And why would you? So you probe into an answer someone gives in an unstructured way. And this, now we are in large language models. And this gives you, on the one hand, a totally different research experience for the people who answer questions. If the bot works fine, then people will give a lot more details than you could, and a larger number of people will give you a lot more details about their problem than you would receive if you just have this one box. Is there anything else you want to tell us? Because there is someone who probes, are you sure? What do you mean? I did not fully understand. Could you tell me a bit more? This is what a good researcher does in a one-to-one situation.
Yeah.
And also there we see that the quality you can get improves. No fake data sets, deeper insights at a larger scale. And another really important approach, which exists for some years now, but I think people use it even more today. So the breakthrough was not that big, at least not in Europe, is if you have unsolicited feedback, for example, in a contact center or on a helpline or whatever, or in emails, in complaint management, then we easily, in big companies, we easily talk about a huge set of data, which you can, in the past, you probably would have digged into that with sort of database technologies and approaches, statistical approaches of finding. Probably you had libraries of words that could be coded as something.
Yeah.
And now you have the wonderful opportunity to have a technology that on the one hand respects the library work, the code framework that already exists, but is also able to detect new topics, even at a large scale, because that is what these systems can do extremely well. They can identify new patterns, new structures. And I think there will be even more data generated through, still in the area of data collection, that have a high value because they are so good. And in the past, there is something, probably it's good. Let's make a sample of this and try to find, oh yeah, it would be good.
Yeah.
But what you don't find are these small microtrends, because then you still need have big data sets, because a microtrend is a microtrend. And sometimes it's good to act already on a microtrend when you start to see that.
And Björn is adding that, just to step in here for a second, that the starting point is going a bit further, such as it starts earlier. It starts with a questionnaire. You could get a bot or an artificial intelligence to support your creation of the questionnaire.
Yeah, but that's, again, for me, the lecture thing. If you don't know what you want to ask, then the bot cannot support you. And many people write questionnaires without knowing why they would want to ask that. And that is one step back. But I saw that also now for me, it's always difficult if people comment to take that up again. But there was also another thing which was mentioned in the post before. There are now with artificial intelligence or with ChatGPT like technology, you can create personas, describe personas, based on data you have collected. And you say, look, this seems to be that kind of person. Then you can create a lot of personas, and from there you can choose which are the ones I want to follow up with, or which I want to treat really different, or maybe they don't want to be. So we have now 50 personas, but probably 30 of them will be treated equally because we don't have so many possibilities to differentiate our offer or how we want to treat people. Face recognition in research situations as much as in customer service situations helps you to understand when is the truly critical pain point in a customer journey, because you can read that from my lips, from my face, from my eyes, from my tears. And these are things
from your tears, yes.
From the tears.
Yeah, if you're crying, something has gone wrong.
Yeah. So actually, you can collect all these kind of data in an extremely good quality, and then you need to do something with it, and that will be the next step. This is analytics. I mean, if you have more data, Jesus, I mean, what do I do? How could I analyze that?
Yeah.
And I think also there even the way of working changed a bit.
Yeah.
In a classical scientific approach, you have a hypothesis, then you build a statistical model to test your hypothesis. And if the statistical model says, no, your hypothesis is wrong, then you've learned something and you take the next scientific step for the next hypothesis. Yeah. This is how we were all trained to approach problem solving in a scientific way. What's happening now is that we take all these data, which, as we collected them in a nice way, we have good data. We don't work in the mode garbage in, garbage out. We have good data, and then we try to find structures, and after that we interpret structures, which has nothing to do with hypothesis. One is deduction, one is induction. So actually, our approach of learning something about the world is now different. Before you said, I believe the world is like that, and then my data says no. Now someone says, look, the world is like that. I said, okay, data tell me. And the world is like that. Oh, okay. But this is not a scientific approach. This is not falsification. Sorry that I'm a bit theoretical now in that area, but this is really a different way of approaching things. And so sooner or later, the big risk is that I said, I cannot prove you the contrary. So I accept that you, dear machine, tell me the truth about what's happening. And we are not able to prove the contrary. So how can we then create new insights? Actually, we just look always at new structures. And I'm not saying that everything we see is wrong. Probably it is like that. But there will also be some things which are not, which are just by accident happening, a phenomenon that are presented to us as the reality. And how could we prove? Because the other approach was, if we think it is like that and we can prove that it's not, then at least we know it's not. We never can prove that something is. We can always prove that it's not. Sorry.
No. Simply getting the opportunity to jump in on the aspect, it is more probably fake or fraud or simply wrong data entry or a double entry. So by collecting data before analyzing it, the cleaning challenge is one in CRM for over 40 years, killing nearly every project. Would there be an opportunity to get here a helping hand?
Sure. I mean, that is one of the key applications. If you can do that on data sets there, then you can do that on data sets there. And I think that makes everything much faster. But imagine that you now have a data set which is cleaned, and my data set is clean. And now someone tells you, now I tell you something about your data set. It's not what you thought these are the most valuable customers. It's not that they have this need, because I found this interesting structure in a combination of blah, blah, blah. And now it looks like that your most valuable customers would more or less look like these, and their needs, which I can derive from various sources, which are far too complex for you to understand. Their needs can be brought down to these 4 aspects. Now go for it. And we see that, and now we jump already in the next, we jump a bit about the different areas. And there was one example I learned that from Michael Obermeier from SAS. There was a project for an insurance company where they let the artificial intelligence create the next best offer for clients systematically. And then they gave this information to the sales people, and they said, no, I know this person for a long time. How did you come to that conclusion? And the problem was that you could not really tell how you came to that conclusion. The answer would have been, actually, we've run an artificial intelligence algorithm, and the computer said that. So what happened? They could only implement this process because they made a field experiment, giving to a certain group the information, asking them to be purely following that recommendation without bringing in own ideas, and the other group could work as they worked before. And the IE supported group was more successful. And out of a sudden, the other said, oh, if they are successful, obviously, I don't know what it does, but somehow it does it better than I would do that. And now we all work with it. In this case, you could prove because you sell more.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, if you take the learning from there, it also means that sooner or later, in many different areas, we will arrive at a point that you say, I don't know why it did that. I don't know why it should be like that. But it seems to be, I trust into the machine because actually in the past it did not tell me something wrong. So probably now it will also not tell me something wrong. And I couldn't prove the contrary anyway. And then we don't reflect on what we receive, but we just trust on it, which is good in 90% of the cases and maybe 10% not.
And our friend Björn is mentioning that there are, in his humble opinion, now 3 aspects you have mentioned and explained nicely in analyzing structured and unstructured data, gathering insights for actions and recommendation, and even take and support the action in a certain degree. The conclusion would be it is definitely a game changer in CX management.
It is definitely a game changer, but not just in CX management. Because imagine that you're in purchasing.
Yeah.
Sooner or later, every purchase leads to a customer experience because they buy the product. But you could organize purchasing processes without people, bots talking to bots. The one artificial intelligence finds out that we don't have these things on stock. Then we have maybe another artificial intelligence that tries to combine that with the prognosis of the sales in the next 3 months. These things already exist. It's not that I'm drawing a
stock
future picture. It is already there. The only thing what's not happening is that that bots from the selling company speak to bots from the buying company, because there's still a purchasing department, a bureaucratic process in between. But there are also standards to have that automized. And at the end of the day, what will happen is someday you will find out, why did we buy 1,000 footballs? who did that? And I said, oh, sorry, well, I'm sorry, guys, but that was this guy. Also, computers and artificial intelligence make mistakes. But
Yes,
the
and
reality
there
is,
is
in total, they will make less mistakes than if you let people order that, because also in the past, people bought footballs even if they don't know.
Papa
Didn't know.
Anteportas. The price was right, so I bought thousands of packages of copier paper. Yeah, the famous L'Oreal one.
Yeah.
So human beings are still able to have some weird ideas they want to take into place. And Björn's last comment was in the consequence, when AI is the game changer and is here to stay, the CX managers need to go forward, and then comes the insider, yeah, make the glass full.
Yeah,
The
if
Hulk.
that is Björn, if you know that this is Björn, we always have the discussion. Björn always says the glass is half empty, and I always say the glass is half full. Because I think people, and even in this case, I think people are aware of all this, and maybe seeks management, not seeks managers necessarily, because seeks management. If you think about, for example, marketing automation, the responsibility for marketing automation not necessarily is in the seeks management department, but it influences a lot what customers perceive in terms of the communication they have coming from the company. And so AI does influence how customers can perceive the company, the services, the products, the touch points. And probably some of the structures we have in CX management, at least in big companies, can be now made a bit thinner, because some of the work will be done or can be controlled in different departments, which does not make the problem less important or the problem easier to be solved. But maybe the responsibilities move from one end to another end, and you don't need to accept an excuse. Sorry, we cannot personalize it better because our data is bad. Because you could improve your data with artificial intelligence. Do that, because that's the first step. Or we cannot improve our communication because it's not possible to find 5 different styles of communicating with customers and identifying the right person, how I would communicate with that person. That's not true. It's possible. It's maybe a company decides not to invest yet into that technology. Maybe also because the first step, the data quality, is not there yet, because I think nobody can allow himself to sleep on cleaning the data, using the primary data they have, first party data. That's the game. And you need to be very clear that it's not acceptable to have bad own data. But if you have that, then you spend quite a lot of budget already on it, maybe now slightly less than before, but you spend budget on that. And you cannot management is about putting the right priorities, and maybe things are not implemented as far as it would be possible in a technology from a technology point of view.
By saying this, I would like to ask if we can elaborate in the last 10 minutes, at least for 5 minutes, in where you see the biggest challenges of AI in CX management. And we have taken the road driven by Björn already into some of the tasks one could go for being a manager. And one observation I would like to question as well, aside of the challenges, is then the conclusion could be that you perspectivized larger enterprises, that AI is a very useful gadget for small, medium enterprise or even small organizations, like we had a discussion with Laurie McCabe last year.
When is a company small?
that is a very lovely, nice perspective to to be defined. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you have, let's speak about a 1,000 people company, which you could argue is that
Which is
small.
not
I,
small from my perspective. Yeah.
let's
It
speak
is.
about a 200 people company. That will be a small company. Then they don't have the capabilities and they don't have the resources and they don't have the time to play around with things because all their processes are already in most of these companies. If they survive well, they are totally focused on the customer. Actually, I helped in a company which were 80 people. I helped out to make a turnaround as IT manager and marketing director. But you don't have enough people at the right quality level to make all the adjustments you would need to make. I'm not sure if these small companies really have a good chance if they are not a digital company and their nature is already quite AI prone or AI driven. In normal retail, or if you sell, for example, pet toys, it's not a world where AI plays a great role. And I wanted, for example, to bring in artificial intelligence in stock management, but we did not have the resources to implement it. It was not only a matter of money, it was also a matter of resources. For that reason,
Yeah.
you need to have you need to have a size of at least 1,000 people in order to allow yourself to have 3 or 4 who try to find out what would be the most valuable applications of AI for our company, because they need time and they need the intellect and they need to have the experience, even if they use external help, just to take that up and bring that into the company. And for that reason, I think the very small companies might have a bigger problem as long as they are not digital by nature.
If they are seeing themselves as digital transformed, or at least they love to play around and they have an IT department which is future driven and boys love their toys, then there is a chance that they go for try and error examples. But where I see, even for a smaller organization, a really beneficial approach is pipeline analysis, lead management, analyze support, in a small size, some A/B testing and all that, which is not brand new, but it helps them taking decisions in a different approach like they did it 20 years.
I've seen companies with more than 1,000 employees who do not have a systematic pipeline analysis. It would be very useful, but they just do it quite very, very simple. Actually, they have not a very differentiated pipeline analysis. They don't have. I worked for many years in a company that did not even have a CRM system because we were so convinced that we know all our clients. And we did a good job. We were successful, but we did not have a systematic sales approach. We just brought that in many years later, and then we found out, oh, that's a lot of work. Because if you want to have pipeline analysis, first of all, you need to have super data in having a good pipeline data. Yeah.
Honest, the last one I know, which didn't need a CRM in large-scale industry, were the former KWU. They constructed nuclear power plants. They had worldwide less than 50 potential clients. Now their power plants became quite unpopular. They even, a Rolodex would have been a waste of time, and energy and money. So
yeah, what they need is good project management. They don't need, it's not the sales
yes,
process, and good connections.
and a fantastic jump into a side of sales support, pipeline analysis, and marketing support is where AI is probably helping in the future in the project management tasks. But coming to some aspects which have been in a research from Handelsblatt, where, for instance, that people would like to get assistance from routine tasks, that they have less trouble in doing simplified control tasks, that they get advice by decision taking, that they get, and here we are in project management, advice by resource planning, and that they get a support from tasks to coordinate resources and people. That is for me breathtaking, really advanced approach to AI. Nevertheless, Pandora's box is open. 4 minutes left to the hour. I would love to see that Marshall is taking the lead now and drives us forward to the final last words perspective.
See if I can take us out of here. So we've talked about trust. We've talked about needing to love people for artificial intelligence to move forward. It's a very interesting concept. But aside from that, in applying AI to customer experience, what are the essentials? At the end of the day, what are the small handful of things that are necessary to create brilliant, outstanding CX using AI? Nice easy question for you on the way.
No, it's not. It's not. That is. That is the essential is that you try. I mean, if just like love people, just do it, try it systematically, seriously. But there are so many different aspects needed to create good customer experiences. It's not just about research. It cannot be, if you don't know your customers, you cannot develop something that fits their needs. It's business management. We're talking about simple managing businesses, because before you can deliver something, you probably have internal processes that have nothing to do with a customer need or something. But if certain for example, if you work for a bank and you have new legal issues to solve, new compliance rules to adapt, then probably it's not it does not serve to make customers happy, and you still have to do that. And it's and I think what happened, we've lost the naivety we had in CX management, let's say 10 years ago, where I said it's just about insights. You just need to understand what they want, and then you do that. And that's gone, because we see, even if we understood that, why don't things happen? And when I discuss that with people who are responsible for things not happening, I said, maybe you don't have the responsibility for things to happen. You just have the responsibility for telling that this would be a valuable way. And because there are so many different ways, there is not the one single answer. What does it need to create excellent customer experiences? What does it need? Good managers, good management, good prioritization, and always having the customer in mind.
Lovely.
Sounds good to me. Well, in absence of anything else to fill up the remaining 30 seconds of the show, I want to thank everybody for joining us, especially Peter. Thank you for your time and your insight. As I learn something from every guest we have, and today is no different. So thank you very much for helping to fill up my brain. Audience, thank you very much for joining us. Björn, for your questions, and lurkers for keeping our analytics high. Tune in next week when we dive into the topic of analysts in the industry. Something near and dear to our hearts, being analysts ourselves. What are we worth? What's our value? To join us, we will have our third round of an expert panel with Sarita Kincaid, Sandy Lowe, Trish Harmon, and Ludovic Leforestier. All guests we've had before, and we will continue the discussion we've had with them. So until then, be well and keep looking up.
And bye-bye, Björn, and thanks to the rest of the audience staying with us. And we look forward to seeing you. Take care.
Cheers.
Thank you.